what is the Truth and Reconciliation Commission? Well, it is a document made to start reconciliation between the Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians. The document is very necessary and meaningful to specifically the Indigenous people who were taken away from their families as children in and around the 1960s, then brought into the homes of strangers and enrolled into residential schools. To note, the residential schools were all government-sponsored religious schools attempting to wipe away their cultural identity and bring them up into a more Euro-Canadian culture. There have been thousands of Indigenous survivors to come out to tell their stories of isolation, abuse, sexual assault, neglect, malnourishment, and more. The progress of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada took 6 years to make, 7,000 stories of residential school survivors, and 94 calls to action. After the releasing of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, had a very emotional apology towards the Indigenous survivors and ensured his commitment to the calls to action. To give some examples of residential school survivors, Edmund attended his first residential school in 1956 when his father was pressured by the Catholic priest to drop him off at St. Anne's School. Through the many years that he attended this school, he said he was hit, and every morning they had bad breakfast he couldn't even keep down, and his worst memory of it all was the electric chair. Another survivor is Rachel Chikasim. Rachel says, "I remember how they took our clothes, the clothes that we wore when we left, and they also cut our hair. We had short hair from there on, and they put a chemical on our hair which was some sort of white powder. Going to school was a nightmare." Lastly, we have Lydia Ross, and she remembers how administrative numbers were used on a daily basis instead of names. She says, and I quote, "I didn't have a name, I had numbers." I asked youth how many people actually knew what the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was. Do you know what the Truth and Reconciliation is?
No, I don't. Sorry. No? No idea.
No. The truth of what? No idea.
Do you know what it is?
Do you know what it is?
Do you know what it is?
Say yes.
Yeah, I do.
What is it? As you can see, many of my friends didn't know, but then I asked my Indigenous Studies fellow peers.
So it was a council created based around like the residential school survivors and like trying to spread the word and like not hide our history.
It's kind of an agreement trying to like solve things.
And how we can move forward with spreading the knowledge of it so that other Canadians know about what happened and not hide it so much.
And like create justice for members that were part of residential schools.
They are looking into what actually happened, what I believe was the residential schools.
What do you think needs to happen as far as educating non-Indigenous teens in regards to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and our past?
I think we need to have more classes available, like Indigenous studies and stuff, especially towards like Canadian history, and talk about it more in history classes.
Information needs to be released, and not everything is based off of what they can teach and what they can in the curriculum.
In history class, we could maybe learn more about the Indigenous side of like Canadian history rather than just like the war side of Canadian history. Make sure that nothing is like sugar-coated and they know the truth about what actually happened. I think it should be mandatory and taught in classes like history and maybe like geography. It should be a mandatory class.
Do you think the Truth and Reconciliation Commission will reach justice for the Indigenous people? How or how not?
I don't think so. I don't think
there'll ever be a really time where they'll completely forgive anyone. I think even if they do forgive, they can never actually forget what has happened to them in their past loved ones.
They can, give them money or apologize, say that they're for them, but at the end of the day, damage has already been done.
If this had become more of a widespread thing and a lot more people know about it, I think it for sure could bring justice to them rather than just kind of shoving it in the closet.
Working towards reconciling for everything we've done, but I think we still have a long way to go.
I think they are achievable. We just need to change the minds and opinions of others because they're extremely stereotyped and there was a lot of land issues and stuff that need to be, dealt with better.
That we need to be open and recognize the past and recognize their culture.
So I think as far as land rights go, we definitely need to establish a system that these are happening quicker and the government can't just keep postponing them because this is something that we need to talk about and something we need to actually resolve.
To help, I will just continue to try and learn more about their culture and try and focus on purchasing items and food that promote Indigenous life and that don't go against the rights of Indigenous people.
Treat them as if they're no different, no different than us. They'll have a different culture, a different religion, but that doesn't make them less of a person than us.
Quite frankly, not discriminating against them, and by giving them money and by giving them support into their beliefs, and that that people should not be discriminated against them. They should have their own rights to their own land, and they should be able to have a good education and a stable school environment.
Really noisy out there. I am going to be calling the owner of Gallery Indigena. It's downtown Stratford, and I've read all about their website or their business on their website, and it says how they've loved to promote Native people's art and through the storytelling of their culture and how their art represents them and how they want to share that with the non-Indigenous people. So I'm going to try and give them a call here and see what happens.
Gallery Indigena.
Hi. Hi. Is the owner in today?
Speaking.
My name is Meredith Macmillan and I am a grade 12 student at Stratford Central, and I was just wondering if you could answer a couple questions that I had. I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on how youth could be more involved in the calls to action for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission?
Youth have far more access to computers than me at my age. I think you should just do your own searching all around the web and where you can lobby and get groups to sign and then send that in.
Yeah, some more just putting something together on social media or something, signing.
Yeah, that's what you kids are good at. Seeing they'll sign up to it and then passing it on to the right parties. I think the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and you have to get as many people who can sign a certain petition thing and turn it in. I got 1,000 signatures on this.
I agree. Well, thank you.
That it?
Yeah, that's all I have to ask.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Bye. I had a lot of fun speaking with Erla, but here are some more ways we can get ourselves as youth more involved in the youth of Indigenous people. The first way is to participate in any exchanges or events between Indigenous and Canadian youth. And in order to do this, we have to learn how to not discriminate in any way and to keep negative comments to ourselves. Talk to your school about setting up workshops to learn more. Thirdly, which I thought was pretty cool, is Indigenous teens also have their own YouTube vlogs that we can go and check out that tell lots of stories about their experiences as an Indigenous youth. And finally, like Erla said, spread the word on social media. We have such an advantage with technology. We can start our own petitions and get people to sign them online, whether it's in regards to a discrimination or land rights or an issue with large corporations. All of these things are so achievable with a little bit of effort from our Canadian youth. Together, we can reconcile. But it starts with you and me.